Hey everyone, today we're going to tackle a somewhat controversial subject. I'm going to lay it all out there and break it all down. The amount of bowling content and ball reviews and in general has been on a steady rise since I started doing it in 2015. And with the pandemic this year and a lot of things being canceled, the amount of podcasts, review channels, and just bowling content period is pretty well skyrocketed. Some of it's good, most of it's bad, but if you remember, go back to when I started, my stuff was all pretty mediocre too, so a lot of people are still finding their style and fighting that endless battle between making legitimately good content and just making stuff that gets views. Now, the best can do both, but there's also a tricky line between doing what you feel like you're supposed to do or saying what you think you're supposed to say and saying what you really think. Now, with the amount of time and effort and energy and especially expense that goes into making legitimately good videos, trying to walk the straight and narrow instead of going the clickbait route can be pretty tricky. So I'm traditionally an err on the side of caution, don't piss anybody off, keep everybody happy type of person, but I'm taking the road less traveled for this one, or actually more traveled, less traveled for me. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. Now, I hate drama and controversy, but I also hate always having to beat around the bush. I think that's literally why I ramble and stutter so much. I feel like if I could just say what I wanted to say, there wouldn't be an issue, or there probably would still be issues, they'd just be different kind of issues, but I digress. Short history lesson, I've been in a shop forever, and when I started making videos, it was just for my shop customers. Ball videos really sucked just 5 or 6 short years ago. That was the most common thing I heard from customers. They, help me out. All the videos on YouTube are 500 rev rates, just swinging the lane and striking every time, set to rock music. Everything looks the same. I just want a ball for league, help me out. That's why my channel is just my name. I want it to be easy for my customers to find. Now for staffers, there's either requirements or incentives or both to stay active on social media, make videos, write reviews, that sort of thing. That's normal and natural. You rep a company, you promote the stuff, that's basic square one, and I honestly think the vast majority of the time that the staffers are being genuine, if a bit too wildly overzealous or way too wildly overzealous. Now, I cringe whenever I read stuff like, it's a must-have in your bag, or it revs super strong in the mid lane, but somehow clears the front super easy and drives through the deck. Now, I've always come from a pro shop background where you help the people get the ball they want or need, not spew propaganda occasionally to brown-nose your company. However, and this is a big however, the vast majority of staffers are thrilled to be on staff and are just doing what they think they're supposed to be doing when they say stuff like that. I don't know where they got that idea. If they actually stopped and thought about it for 2 seconds, it'd probably be different. The same ones that see the posts like that from Facebook from staffers of other companies and roll their eyes will post the exact same things about their company, feeling like they're somehow doing the Lord's work and that it won't turn anybody off. Now, there's several bowling forums that I frequent, and this manner of thing turns nearly everyone off. It's like watching an infomercial or going to a used car lot. You, as a consumer, are about to spend money on a product. You just want to hear the straight information, propaganda free, so that you can make a decision. Now, it's much more beneficial to just explain what the products do and actually help someone find what they're after, because they're going to buy something anyway. And if you confuse them with a bunch of nonsense and that they end up with a ball that they aren't happy with, they're never going to listen to you again. So staffers, if you're watching this, drop the nonsense. Flip the sides. If you were a consumer and everything you saw on Facebook was the proton physics hooks more than any ball ever, it revs up super hard in the mid lane, but somehow stores enough energy for a crazy continuous motion through the pins, it hits like a truck, and I know it's going to be in my tournament bag for a long time. This one's a must-have. How on earth is that actually going to help anybody out? I mean, I've even known several people that have bashed that kind of stuff, and then they get their own staff contract and start doing it themselves. So this isn't beneficial. It gives you as a consumer zero information. You're not doing anyone any good or helping anyone out. It's just another waste of space on somebody's timeline. And if you've been on Facebook recently, there's already plenty of that to begin with. So now I represent Storm because I like the equipment. They support me in making these videos, first of all, wouldn't be making them for all of you without them, and while there are some general guidelines to follow, they don't breathe down my neck or try to control what I say, contrary to popular opinion. They're not writing everything for us to say. They give us quite a bit of freedom and encourage us to just say what we think. Now, they let me do my thing and say what I say, even if it's not always favorable or flattering, or if I get a different read on something. Now, I in turn just try to describe the ball reaction, compare one ball to the next, and realistically, that's all you can do. As soon as you start getting into opinions, that's where it really falls apart and where you lose any semblance of value. Now, consequently, that's also what people want to hear, despite it literally being useless information. Sometimes people even want to hear you bash something because apparently that's proof that you're being honest or something. If I'd have come out with a video titled something like "The Promotion Sucks," I'd have gotten all kinds of views from both my regular viewers and the crowd that likes to bash on Belmo and two-handers, and it would have gotten shared all over the place because people like drama and controversy. So, sorry to disappoint everybody, but it's probably my favorite ball ever. I've got 2 with holes in them, 2 blank backups, 3 more on the way, and I've never had more than 3 of the same ball before in my life, especially not now when I have way more stuff that I could ever use or just carry around with me. However, the promotion did suck for a lot of people, just like literally every other ball released or in existence. So my personal opinion is completely worthless there. I could go with it and use more buzzworthy video titles, exactly like this one, by the way. I wanted traffic and attention for this one. You might be watching right now specifically because you saw the title and thought, oh heck, he's going in, this will be juicy, and here we are. But I could add more exclamation points and make titles like Proton Physics, the new standard in hook, question mark, or Storm Proton Physics, the new strongest ball ever, exclamation mark, exclamation point, whatever. Proton Physics, better than the UFO, question mark, and some busy emoji-filled thumbnail and get all kinds of clicks just for it to be hype and nonsense that people actually somehow want. And get all because our society feeds on drama now, and just have it ultimately be hollow and worthless. Now, I'm good with the amount of traffic I get because I know why you're all here, aside from this video maybe, but I digress once again. Back on topic, personal opinions are worthless in videos because with the insane amount of variables in bowling, no one's going to have exactly the same experience someone else does. Now, all the requests for different layouts and different surfaces and different bowlers and different lane conditions doesn't mean a thing. What you should really be looking for is consistency in a benchmark, because you're not going to get exactly the same look or read or forgiveness or strength or back end that I'm going to get. This is driven home by the fact that people constantly disagree about how good or bad every single ball out there is, which also rebukes this ball as a must-have that seems to accompany every staffer review out there for every single release. It may not be a must-have for you, and it's going to kick one of their former must-haves out of the bag, too. You can't just carry 30 balls into the building every time. Now, what you really need is some kind of benchmark, some way to compare what it looks like on video to what it looks like when you actually get it and drill it for yourself. Now, just because I get a messenger or throw pins around with the ball doesn't mean you will too. It may not match up with your game, your center, the lane conditions, and you may not be playing the lanes right. And any and all equipment in any sport is going to look like garbage when not handled correctly. Using some golf analogies, just because Dustin Johnson can hit a pitching wedge 175 yards doesn't mean I can. So if I think, oh wow, if I go get that pitching wedge, I'll be able to hit it 175 yards too. Oh wow, if I go get that new Pro V1, I can get the ball to stop on a dime, or I can get it to curve around trees and hit the green and back up. Now, imagine if I reviewed golf clubs, for example, and took a new 5-iron out on a 150-yard par 3 and kept hitting it over the green, and I was like, well, I don't really know about this one. I feel like I'm hitting good shots, but they're all going 30 or 40 yards over the green. I just really can't recommend this one. I get absolutely obliterated. People be like, well, duh, idiot, if you just use the right club for the hole that you're on, or if you used it on this length of hole or in the situation or whatever, it'd probably work out better. In bowling, it's not like that, though. In bowling videos, it's like, hey, I'm going to take this brand new UFO out on this lead condition that hasn't been oiled in 3 days. Let's see what happens. And people don't ever engage their brains and think, well, oh gosh, that doesn't sound right. It's just, well, we're just putting the ball through its paces and seeing how good and how versatile it actually is. I see some of the dumbest things ever on ball videos. I'm sitting there watching, like, you literally put that layout on that ball and are playing that area of the lane on that condition with that service, and then you're trying to act all hard and give people the honest truth that this ball doesn't live up to the hype, and not to listen to all the ball hawking staffers and somehow people suck it up. I mean, it's literally no different than me taking a new driver out, picking a ball that's built to curve, shanking the hell out of it over and over again, watching it spin and bend out of bounds, and go, man, don't listen to I'm going to tell you, don't listen to the hype. This thing just doesn't hit the ball straight. And even worse, it puts some crazy spin on it too that's going to make it go even further out of bounds and put you even further into the trees chasing around your $5 ball. It's a hard pass on this one. The dislike button would be hammered, and the comment section would be filled with hate, and of course rightfully so. But when somebody does that with a bowling ball, they're actually praised for telling the truth. Nobody says, well, but wait, that layout's going to make the ball stand up and puke for you, or that ball isn't designed for that condition, or this ball wasn't designed to go coast to coast, it's a control ball, and so on and so forth. Now, someone once said there are no bad balls, just bad ball reactions, and that's the truth. Some are naturally going to be more versatile or more usable on the regular conditions we bowl on every day, and some are going to be more specific use. But generally speaking, you have to know what you're doing first. So once again, opinions on ball videos are absolutely the last thing that you can trust. Now, I've said it before, but there's a couple things that you can trust in ball videos, and that's assuming those reviewing the balls have a clue and know what they're doing. And that's developing a relationship between what it looks like on video for that specific reviewer and then what it looks like for you, and ball-to-ball comparisons. Now, if you continue to watch my wife, for example, same layout, same conditions, same center, and if she consistently gets the ball to hook a couple more boards than you get the same ball to hook, then you have a relationship. Then you can trust the ball-to-ball comparisons so that you already have something kind of built there. Now, sometimes I'll get lucky and have someone say, well, that ball isn't designed for that condition, it shouldn't be used on that condition, so how are you reviewing it on that condition? Now, the reason we test everything for her, specifically on house shots, is because 95% of the people watching just bowl league on house shots. If they go to buy a ball, it's going to be for a house shot. Now, if somebody likes the look of the proton physics, but see Angel playing an arrow and a half left of where she normally does with something else, that should automatically tell them, hey, unless you want to play way outside your comfort zone in league, this is probably not the ball for you. You should buy something else, unless you can't get the ball to hook enough, and then you might be in the market for it. If we instead throw it on Dragon or something, and she's playing up second arrow, people will go, oh, well, she's just playing down and in like I do, the ball looks good, I'm going to go get it, and then when they use it on league and lay it down on second arrow, and it picks off the 3 off the left, they're going to be pissed. And you might say, yeah, but if they don't understand the Dragon's 50 feet long and heavy volume, it's their own fault. Well, I can't do that. I have to make everything as user-friendly as possible because I have a really wide variety of viewers at all different points in their knowledge and experience. An experienced bowler, for example, who understands this and why I'm showing a hook monster on a house shot will say, yeah, she shouldn't be using it on a house shot, but it does handle friction surprisingly well, so that's good. Looks like it'll handle oil well, etc. But the entire point of doing that is to point it out and say, well, this ball is not designed for this condition. We're going to do it anyway just to show you what it looks like because this is what the majority of people bowl on. Unless you throw it 20 miles an hour and have a 200 rev rate. That's why you'll notice that in the videos I make sure to point that out. It's not designed for this condition. That's why she's playing inside fourth arrow. Bowling balls are like golf clubs. That's partially why they make a million of them. But you wouldn't go into a golf pro shop and say, yeah, I really want this 5-iron now. You'll need to adjust it so it hits the ball like a 9-iron for me because that's what I want. But I don't want to buy a 9-iron. I want a 5-iron. It doesn't work like that. It's a really easy concept to grasp in golf, but not so much in bowling. Now, companies also keep pumping balls out due to demand. I mean, some balls stick around, but after a ball's been out for so long, people want something new and fresh. Especially because the vast majority of bowlers are casuals. They just want to get out of the house for a couple hours, have a couple drinks, and chuck the ball around. And that's great. There's not a heckin' thing wrong with it. They're actually the ones that pay the bills, to be honest. Now, I don't know how many questions I get like, hey, I've worn my IQ Tour Solid out. I've had it for 4 years. I've resurfaced it a dozen times. It's just time for a new ball. What else? What do they have out there right now that's comparable? Sometimes that's fine because I think people automatically assume that once something's been out for a couple of years that it's been discontinued, it's long gone. But when I come back with, well, they're actually still making it, so if you liked it and you want it replaced, I'd just buy another IQ Tour Solid. And their answer is, well, yeah, but I want something new and different. That's a different story, especially if they also leave comments elsewhere like, well, these companies just keep pushing balls out faster and faster, and I can't keep up, and they're just trying to constantly milk money out of people, and they keep saying that everything's bigger and better than the last, and it's like, no, they keep making more balls faster because when they announce something, before that new release even comes out, they're already asking about what's next and talking about it and theorizing about it. Let's take a typical ball review and break down the good, the bad, and the nonsense. My videos are boring as hell, but I just give you the information. Some people want more pomp and circumstance. Some people get mad about it, but I can't please everyone. You know, if you want a cinematic experience and some good quality information, go watch Darren Tang. I've tried to jazz videos up in the past before, but people complained that they didn't want a bunch of fancy graphics. They just wanted to see the ball roll down the lane. Other people comment specifically on Darren's videos saying how much they like all the extra production and the movie-like feel to it, and that's all fine and good. That's why different review channels exist. You know, to see different things and get different perspectives. If you want higher production quality and more entertainment, go watch him. Don't complain about my videos being boring. I'm not going to change because most of my viewers watch my videos specifically because they are just about the ball reaction without any frills or extra hype. Darren also bowls on tour, so he can give you a perspective and information that I just can't. He's got some really interesting nuggets in a lot of his videos. Sometimes it's just a trick, though. Some people try to create these really impressive looking videos and add hypey thumbnails and video titles to try to mask the fact that there's no like actual quality content in the videos. They're just trying to get you to click and get views so that they can get numbers to build their YouTube bowling empire. Now, it's completely not worth it, but that's a different topic. So we're going to talk about layouts now. Layouts just fine-tune a ball. You're not going to take an idle and make it turn sideways. With a layout, you can absolutely adjust a few things with the layout, but I've never understood why people would want to buy absolutely the wrong ball and then try to get you to make it into a different ball with a layout and surface and whatever else. It's like, just buy the right ball in the first place. Now, if a video happens to feature a few different balls and some different layouts and a few different bowlers, like Storm's 5, 6, or 7 ways videos, which I think are absolutely fantastic, you're not going to get better videos than that. Great, but you still might not be getting the information that you think you're getting because, once again, the amount of variables in bowling mean that what you're seeing on the video isn't exactly what you get when you drill the ball. For example, when I watch somebody like Chad McLean throw a ball at HQ, everything for them seems to go 2 or 3 feet longer than it goes for me when I get it here. And so I can expect, well, it's not going to go quite that long. I'm actually going to get more traction out of it, about a similar back-end response. But I'm not going to get it to glide quite as far as they do. And so I've built a relationship with what it looks like for Chad and what it's going to look like for me. Now, when a ball comes out, they send me one for me, they send me one for Angel, and if I want more than that, I've got to buy them. And I'm not spending a ton of extra money on a ton of extra balls that probably not going to end up using just to make a video that's going to get me $50 in ad revenue. In addition to continuing to contribute to the idea that showing a ton of different layouts on a video is somehow helping anyone out. You know, I think different bowler styles give you by far more information than seeing the same bowler throwing the same ball with a different layout or a different surface, especially because of the established constants and especially on a house shot. Now, if I add more surface, the ball will get earlier and smoother. If I add shine, it'll get longer and sharper. Now, layouts are trickier and harder to understand because there's a million variables with core design and different covers and those combinations. Now, if you want more info on layouts, once again, check out Storm's Pin Buffer Layout System Trilogy. Those are amazing and better than anything that I can put in a video. But with something as simple as surface, if you can't watch a video and imagine the ball reaction with more polish or more surface, then me showing it to you isn't going to help, because the vast majority of the time, it's not misunderstanding surface. It's, well, I get the concept of surface, but how does it make this ball react specifically? That means you don't actually get the concept. If you don't know something or don't understand it, cool, but so much about watching a ball on video is subjective that you have to experience it to understand it. Questions like, well, this ball comes out of the box polished, but could you make a video with it sanded, are frustrating because it's like, well, sanding it is going to get it, it's just going to make it earlier and smoother. What exactly are you expecting to see here? Well, but I want to know exactly how much earlier and smoother it is. Well, that's not going to help because you're likely not going to end up with the exact same look that I'm getting shiny or dull. This is why we film at two different houses, and why I continually drive home that Gauge Bowl, where I film at, is going to give me a sharper back end motion than I'll get out of literally anywhere else on the planet. So, say I make that video, say I take my trend out and put it at 2000, it's still going to get down the lane pretty easy and punch pretty good down lane at the house. So, say you see that and do the same thing, expecting the same result, but your game, your center, the ball layout, and the conditions you bowl on are all going to be different from mine. Maybe you're using a brand new True Cut pad and I used a semi-used Abralon pad. Maybe you did it by hand and I was on a spinner using water. What have you. You're going to get a different result, and then I'm not going to want to hear, well, this video isn't accurate. You had to have done something different or something wrong because I put 2000 on my trend and it's a lot smoother than this. This just goes to show that you can't trust a staffer. Stuff like that fries me out. So that's point one, long-winded, but I mean, would you expect anything different from me? So point one is developing a relationship between what Angel and or I see out of a ball and what you see out of the ball, and the rest is up to you. Next is lane conditions. That's my favorite one. So a year or two ago when the guys of the house were just starting up that whole thing, Packy Hanrahan asked me about a few of the different things about making a video, what people like to see, how tough it was to do, how tough it was to show certain things and answer certain questions, and the toughest part is the whole condition thing. I said pretty commonly people will say, well, every ball is going to look good on a house shot. I want to see it. I want to see the ball on a sport shot. And he kind of blinked and said, well, it's a good thing there's only about 8,000 different sport shots. And I said, yes, but furthermore, how does Chameleon, for example, act at one center versus another center? And he just kind of laughed. So if I showed a certain ball on the condition it was designed for, it'd just end up putting me in the same spot on the lane as another ball in the house shot. For example, using the trend on a house shot puts me in about the same place that the Axiom does on the Nationals doubles and singles pattern, and obviously the Axiom's quite a bit stronger than the trend. People would see me on the same zone on the lane, completely forget that it was a different pattern, and I get comments like, well, you say that the Axiom's a lot stronger than the trend, but you're literally throwing them in the same place. Or I'd hear stuff like, hey, it's another review from Luke throwing supposedly different balls from third arrow at Westridge again. Yes, because house shots make stuff look similar, and third arrow is where the track is at Westridge, and a track on the lane develops where people most commonly throw their shots from, so why would I not try to show people in a video what that ball looks like on a house shot that they're most likely going to be bowling on, from a zone they're most likely going to be throwing it from? What about this doesn't compute or make sense? Now, I haven't used my fancy board boxes much because I noticed that on the other videos where people use board boxes, they just confuse the hell out of people. So if the numbers on the boxes show up the same, meaning they're hitting the same boards at the arrows and the break point, but the ball reacts differently, then people just go, oh wow, that ball really tears the pattern up quick, or oh wow, that, you hit the same boards, but that ball just must be really inconsistent. Somehow not noticing that the tester's ball speed was up or down or that their tilt changed, or that they dumped it or got around it too much, or didn't quite catch it at the bottom or revved it up too much. Now the bottom line is that most people can't see what they think they can, in addition to, once again, the amount of variables being so high and so drastic in the sport of bowling, that all the extra bowling balls and extra bowlers and extra centers and conditions and camera angles just equals infinitely more time and expense for the reviewer, while giving you zero to little more information than just watching one bowler on one condition at one center with one ball with one layout with one surface. And I'd argue that all the extra frills and all this extra stuff just creates more confusion. Now, when I make my reviews, I just try to describe the ball reaction. Maybe it doesn't get me as many views as the hype videos, which sucks, but whatever. Making videos is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. It's also pretty expensive. I don't get commission, and anyone saying, well, but yeah, you get all kinds of free stuff. Again, you get free money at your job too. All you have to do is show up and work for it. The numbers don't look good on paper. I do it to try and help, not to sell bowling balls. If I was trying to make a buck or benefit off all this time and expense, I wouldn't be making bowling videos. You have to buy equipment to bowl. Storm's the brand that supports me, and they're the brand that I know. So that's the stuff I'm going to talk about, point blank. If I just describe the reaction and describe the comparisons from ball to ball and keep it as simple as possible, that gives you a better, stronger, and more accurate basis slash benchmark slash watermark for comparison, or as good of one as I can give you in a video anyway. This is exactly what my rated series is for. Compare any ball to any other ball, complete with number ratings for the big three or the most common three factors anyway in ball reaction. Now, some people aren't going to see it that way. They're gonna disagree or tell me I'm crazy. But once again, we return to the insane amount of variables in the game of bowling. If we disagree on how good a ball is, it literally doesn't mean one of us is wrong. It just means we're different. I love the IQ Tornado Pearl, and I went from loving it out of the box to hating it for the next 20 games to back to loving it again. With the same surface on the same conditions, I just figured out what I was doing wrong. So if I can even argue and disagree with myself and see completely different things based on what I myself am doing under otherwise completely controlled conditions or constant situations, there's no way that a ton of different variables on a ball video is going to help anyone. I don't know how many times I've thrown a ball and written a review based on how it felt and what I saw on the lanes, and when I watched the video back, I felt like an idiot because it didn't look the same on video as it felt throwing it. Or I went into detail about how much different this ball felt than this other ball, only to watch and see that they look virtually identical on video, like the nuclear cell and the astrophysics. You can definitely feel the difference when they're throwing them. Anyone that has both will feel a big difference throwing them, but when you watch them back on video, they look virtually identical. Now, if I throw a ball in the half shot at gauge, I know what it's going to do with a different surface or on a different condition there because I built a familiarity with all these things. That's how, with how surfaces work, conditions work, layouts work, and different physical adjustments and how that house plays in general. Now, I don't need to physically go through all those things every time I get a ball like it's always a whole new adventure and I don't know what to expect. And so once you develop a familiarity, I don't need to put all those things into every single video. It's not like, crazy things are going to happen. Now, sometimes I'll look at ball specs on paper and end up being surprised by certain things it does once I throw it. But once I've thrown it or once I've seen 30 seconds of it on somebody's video, everything else falls into place because I've developed familiarity with, and experience with all these different things. And that's kind of a universal concept for all of life. Sometimes you simply have to experience something for yourself. It's like watching a video of someone reviewing food or showing you how to cook a certain recipe and constantly being like, well, what's it taste like at this temperature? Next time add a little salt, or what about a little pepper? I bet it would probably taste good if you spiced it up, or, can you make it again and maybe cook it with some jalapeno peppers in there? Or what's it taste like with maybe this kind of sauce, or how about this kind of sauce? Or, just seeing this one recipe by itself doesn't really give me a good idea how it would taste for me, because I don't actually like carrots, so I would like to see you make this recipe again without carrots and see what you thought of it. I'm not going to spend hours and hours more getting more film and writing a script and making a video just to go, well, in a shocking turn of events, I took my trend to 2000 and it was earlier and smoother and it hooked a little more than it does shiny. Yes, bowling is expensive. I get it, and you want absolutely as much information as you can get before going and spending $200 on a new ball, and it really sucks to dump a bunch of money into a ball and end up hating it. But just because a ball looks good or reacts a certain way for me, it doesn't mean it's going to end up working out for you exactly the way it worked out for me, or the way that you think it will. I mean, the people who are the most demanding in terms of what they want to see on a video are also the ones, consequently, who will post a ball for sale for half of what they just paid for it, saying, it just didn't match up, great condition, doesn't even have a game on it. That's complete idiocy. You absolutely can't get any kind of a read on a ball in a couple shots, and that's why I don't like videos that claim to be reviews showing somebody throwing a ball for 10 shots and basing an opinion on it. Now, it's great for showing you what to expect out of the box. That's why my reviews start with the very first shots that we throw with the balls, but we also put about 8 to 10 games on the ball during filming, so the end result is me putting together a video trying to represent the ball reaction as good as I can and get as good of an idea as I can. The absolute bottom line is that with anything in life, if you want to be good at it, you have to put in the time and the money for the experience and the knowledge. If you want to learn how to make something work out for you, this is one of the biggest lessons I've learned in life. I used to think that if I sat back and watched and learned and listened to as many people as possible, that it would help me figure out what I needed to do. And in reality, all it did was just confuse the hell out of me, because everyone's different. You need to figure out how things work for you and which direction you need to go, and then take all the information and experience you get from other people and other places, but you have to apply it to what you're already doing in the direction you're already going. Now, bowling videos can still be immensely helpful, but they can also be confusing and contribute to keeping misinformation alive, because oddly enough, the most popular videos are often the ones that contain the most misinformation, because people want what they already believe to be reinforced, not to hear that they're actually wrong or that's not actually the way that it is. Channels that give you the hard, honest truth may actually be doing that. I mean, they may actually be giving you an honest read on what they're seeing, but they may not be doing the right things or know what they're doing in the first place. So the absolute bottom line is to gain your own knowledge and experience yourself. Anyway, I think that'll about wrap it up. Hopefully this has helped you gain a little insight. Maybe you'll watch the next review a little differently. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.